Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the third appointment with the LIFT project for the series of webinars shaping the innovation ecosystem for the bioeconomy. This is the third one. We will have the final one next week on the 15th. And so thanks everybody for being following us, and we can start. So today, our focus will be in from research to market. So we will touch uptake of RTD results, foresight, market studies and market roadmaps, and industrial roadmaps. And today our partner projects will be BioBridges and also the European Bioeconomy Network that will be presented today because everybody was asking about the European Bioeconomy Network. So we can proceed. We will touch several things. So just a few practicalities. The webinar will be recorded to allow everybody later on to follow us and to see it again. Questions can be raised. There is, if you see down, there is a Q&A area. So in that area, you can raise your question, while the comments, you can put them here on the chat, but it's better if you use the Mentimeter. That is a system that will use, you see here, menti.com, and the access code is 756105. And here you can really cooperate with us and participate actively to the session. We will, as usual, provide the slides, recording, question and answer documents, and also, of course, the report of the interactive session. Oops, there is a wrong link here. We have to change it because, of course, the link is the link of today that is not a policy framework, but is from research to market. Of course, you will find all the information about all the webinars at this page. So LIFT BBIU/webinars. Okay. So what we will touch today. So first of all, we will present the LIFT project. Then we will present the BioBridges project. We will tell you about the European Bioeconomy Network. And then we will touch our topics of today that we already mentioned before. After each of this session, we will have a Mentimeter discussion in which you will provide us additional information that we will integrate in our final LIFT recommendation. Who are the speakers? We have Alexandra Almeida, that is from LOBA, and he is the LIFT coordinator. We also put here the email, so if you want to contact some of us, you can do it. We have John Voss from BTG, that is LIFT partner. Pietro Rigonat, that is from LOBA and is BioBridges coordinator. And me, Susanna Albertini, I'm from FBA, I'm LIFT partner, and I'm the main contact for the European Bioeconomy Network. Okay, we can go to the next one. So now we will, I don't know what is happening, maybe something technologically went wrong. Okay, so here, please, can you take your cell phone and go to menti.com? And you can use the code that we provided before, that is 756105. We would like to know what type of stakeholders you are. Okay, so today we have a lot of research. It depends on the day. So of course, the theme is very relevant for the researchers because it's from research to market. So we see a slight difference from today. We have 180 participants now. So we missed some contribution yet. You can keep on telling us who you are. 30% business, civil society is increasing a little, and policy also, but today the majority are researchers. That's great. Okay, I think we can, okay, no, you are still answering. So again, menti.com 756105. I think we can eventually move to the other. You will be still able to. We would like to know your countries because we noticed that there are people from Brazil, from of course from all over Europe, but also from US, Canada, China last time. So today we have Italy, Spain, Germany, Belgium, the Netherlands, Czech Republic, Belgium, Croatia, Venezuela. So also, I think it's very early in Catalonia, just is right. Austria, US, Germany, Italy, Spain, and Belgium are the superhero, but also Finland is increasing. Lithuania, so we have someone that probably cannot join, so we will put later on in the statistic if you cannot join for any reason, menti.com, you can write it on the chat, so we will integrate later on. Okay, so I think we can go to the next one. We would like to know now if you participated in the past in any EU, BBIJU, or other joint undertaking founded project, including Interreg, Erasmus Plus. Of course, if more than one, you can. I think this one you can. Of course, we would like to understand your projects in bioeconomy, so not put all the project, but think to the ones that are in bioeconomy, because this is the topic of today. So we have a good quantity of people that participated to other projects, or Innovation Action or other type of project. But 34% that didn't participate, so that's I think a data that could be interesting for the Commission for BBIJU. And then 26-27% around CSA project. Consider that LIFT is focused on the analysis of CSA projects that are coordination and support action, so projects that are supporting the creation of the ecosystem for the bioeconomy in different ways. And we touched in the first webinar awareness raising and communication, bioeconomy education, stakeholder engagement. In the second one, the regional potential and regional development, but also standardization and LCA and all these things. So in the LIFT website, you will find all this information. So if you want to follow what happened in the last webinars, you can see the videos, or otherwise you can of course contact the LIFT team to have more information. So I think we can move to the next one. If you can tell us your project's name. If you have more than one, you can vote several times. And if you don't have a project, you can tell us maybe your if you belong to an initiative, if you belong to something that is also relevant for the bioeconomy, please tell us. So we have Bio East Up, Bio Voices, and Bio Bridges are the super heroes. Barbara, Grassification, Celebio, Bioways. Bio East Up is in the middle, so several people from Eastern countries. Bio East Up is a project that is supporting the development of the Eastern country, the bioeconomy in the Eastern country. Bio Bridges, that is bridging brands, consumers, and bio-based industry. Power for Bio, that is another project very relevant for the regional and rural development. ICT Biochain, Escorn Seed, Agrichem Way. Oh, I know a lot of people from all these projects we know. Most of them have been interviewed by LIFT. Oh, this is a very nice picture of all the projects participating. So really, really thanks for being supporting us and being following our activity, and really thanks because we are very glad and happy that you are here. Okay, so I think that we can move. You can keep on adding your projects meanwhile, and I leave the floor to Alexandra Almeida that will tell something more about LIFT.
Yes, thank you. Good morning or good night to some of you that are in Venezuela, United States, Brazil, that I saw. So LIFT, a very quick presentation. The objective was to provide a global vision of the coordination and support actions from FP7 Horizon 2020 and BBIGU, Erasmus, or even Interreg. We analyzed 62 projects. We interviewed 40 of them, so we did a very in-depth analysis of these projects in a way to maximize the impact of these CSAs results and making them actionable mainly for industries and for policymakers. And we will present here today the gaps that we identify and the challenges that need to be awareness. Of course, by doing this, we raise awareness about these projects, and at the end, we want to provide recommendations for future CSA topics. In terms of outcomes, of course, they are related with the objectives. And instead of going through all this information, I would like to show you one of the outcomes, that is the European Bioeconomy Library. So we have here all the information from the projects that we analyzed. And going, for example, if we go to projects, and I will select LIFT because I want to show at the same time the fact sheet. So I go here, all the projects are listed here. I select LIFT. I will have the information from LIFT, and the first glance of information is very similar to Cordis, with information about LIFT, the grant agreement, the topic, website, duration, etc. And then here are the project contents. So, for instance, if we go for one of the fact sheets of today, uptake of RTD results, I can read more, and I have here the fact sheet. So, and the fact sheet, our 11 fact sheets are all of them with the same structure. So we have the challenge in this topic. We have how the coordination and support actions addressed this challenge, and then the main outcomes, the gaps to be addressed, and the recommendations. All the fact sheets have this structure, and you can find them here on the European Bioeconomy Network or on the website of LIFT. And here are the projects that we analyze to this specific subject. In this case, we are talking about uptake of RTD results. Another way to search for results, and here, as I said, are all the fact sheets. Another way to search for results is going to contents, and I will not select now the project, I will select the topic. For instance, again, uptake of RTD results. I search for this, and I will have all the contents that are related with the uptake of RTD results coming from projects. So we have here biolinks, buys, biolinks again, CompFabNet, and the related information with this. So if I click here, so I have here ProBio report on policy lessons, and I click on read more, and I have the information about this project results. And this is the European Bioeconomy Network, that the European Bioeconomy Library that will be alive after the end of the project. The project finishes now in April, and our objective is that other projects still feed this library. So in terms of resources, again, the Bioeconomy Library, the 11 fact sheets, 3 of them we will talk about this webinar. And at the end of the project, in a couple of weeks, we will have the recommendations for the innovation ecosystem for bioeconomy. These are the main resources that will be available at the end of the project. That's it, very fast presentation. We will now go to the presentation of the European Bioeconomy Network with Susanna again. Thank you.
Okay, so the European Bioeconomy Network was launched in March 2018, was initiated and launched in May, and is a proactive alliance of actually 55 EU-founded projects, mainly CSA or other type of projects that are supporting the innovation ecosystem for the bioeconomy, and also 5 initiatives. And what we do, we promote, communicate, and support bioeconomy. And of course, this initiative has been awarded or recognized by the bioeconomy strategy, and we are very happy because they mention us in this important document on page 84, 86, and whatever. And what are the objectives of the European Bioeconomy Network? Basically, to maximize the effort of the projects, increasing the knowledge sharing, but also networking and mutual learning among the different projects, and in order also to coordinate joint activities and events to reach more impact. For instance, today we have BioBridges, and this is an initiative that is also supported. I mean, LIFT is also supported by the European Bioeconomy Network in terms of connecting with other projects. So we connected with Urbio Future, with the Celebio, for instance. Then what we want to do, of course, as a main goal, we want to increase the awareness on environmental, societal, and economic benefit of the sustainable circular bioeconomy in Europe, but also not only in Europe, worldwide, let's say. And we want, together with the other, with the projects that are involved, to design a joint and consolidated action plan of all the bioeconomy promotional activities and try to increase the impact, so to identify impact-oriented strategy to boost the sustainable circular bioeconomy in Europe. Go to the next one. So we did a lot of activities. We just put some picture here, more than 65 joint activities in the last 2 years. And we also have several activities that are planned for 2020 and 2021. Actually, the European Bioeconomy Network activities are supported inside the BioVoices project, because we don't have a source of funding for the European Bioeconomy Network, but the project are kind of supporting it. Although we don't request to the project a fee for participating. And then what we will do, we will keep on promoting stakeholder engagement and networking activities. And we also have a strong, let's say, focus on regional level. And indeed, for this, we support the region and the member states in their communication, education, and stakeholder engagement activity mainly. And we co-organize events to really discuss and try to find solution for the key challenges to be addressed for the bioeconomy. Of course, we organize a number of awareness-raising activities in large-scale events. We reach really hundreds and thousands of people in several, I mean, among all the projects, not only few projects. And this will proceed in the next years. And then we are also connecting experts and speakers for the bioeconomy related event. We facilitate the contacts among the different projects. And of course, all these activities are increasing the impact and the project outcomes. You can go to the next. Okay, so here we have some references. So basically, ubionet.eu is the website. We have a LinkedIn group, and of course we are on Twitter. And if you want to contact us for instance, becoming a member or have more information, you can write to info@ubionet.eu. Okay, I'm done for this. So the next speaker will be Pietro Rigonat for BioBridges.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me well. I will present briefly BioBridges, which is another coordination and support action funded by BBIJU. And as a coordination and support action, it's very market oriented because the final goal of our project is to create the two cross-cutting interconnections in bio-based value chains. And we already accomplished to establish one of these. The point is, for developing these cross-cutting interconnections, we must perform a twofold path, let's say. On one hand, an analytical approach for analyzing barriers, challenges, what are the most profitable sectors that may have more opportunities to cooperate and successfully establishing a cross-cutting interconnection. So, as long as we strive for creating these cross-cutting interconnections, we are raising awareness in general for a consumer point of view, from a consumer perspective. On the other hand, we will develop an action plan and recommendations on essentially all the findings that we've been coming across while performing this very concrete approach. You must know that in practice, what is happening in this project is that we are acting as sort of brokers between extremely large and important enterprises and small brand owners and innovators that may have interesting solutions for the big industry. Indeed, as you can see in the next slide, our main stakeholders are bio-based industries, brand owners, and consumers. And as you see from this slide, what must happen is to put into contact industries and brands so that brands may have more competencies and may be more aware of bigger realities that they may benefit from. As well, industry, we may help them to promote better the bio-based solutions and products. As well, the best channels and arguments to approach brand owners, because a problem we are facing now is that, for example, small brands that may have innovative ideas still don't have the right competencies to present their business plans to bigger entities, which can be an industry or also, for example, financing providers. So, as you see in the next slide, all this translates into concreteness and we must say successful results. On one hand, on our portal, you can find all what we call actionable knowledge, so infographics and fact sheets that summarize very well and in a visual attractive way all the analytical work that we've been doing for establishing the first new cross-sector interconnection that happened between a company in Holland and a company in Croatia and deals with microalgae. So as you may imagine, the different applications of microalgae lead to a very diversified and wide business plans. So we are very excited also to see how this will develop. We have a web application on our website where you can see how to match brand challenges and industry challenges for establishing this collaboration. And you may also tell us if you faced another type of barriers, another type of challenge, which can be financial, legal, environmental, sustainable. Any challenge, any input will be useful for us, because at the end of the project, we will issue recommendations for establishing these important interconnections. And the video that you saw at the beginning of this webinar, that is very representative because it demonstrates that nowadays you can already wake up and live your day with entirely bio-based products from the morning until the evening. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, Pietro, there was a question that I answered very briefly about the availability of this methodology for cross-cutting collaboration. And so I answered that they could, I mean, everything is available, everything is our interest to make all this material available to everybody. So please contact, go in the BioBridges website or contact the BioBridges project to have more information. The BioBridges project will be open up to December, so it is also possible to organize things together. Okay, so we go to the next block. So basically from now we start with the results of LIFT. So the first block is uptake of RTD result, and our presenter will be John Voss from BTG.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Susanna, for your introduction. My name, as mentioned, is John Voss from the Biomass Technology Group in the Netherlands. Overall, in the LIFT projects, we considered a total of 62 CSA or CSA-like projects that were implemented over the last decade. And you can imagine that the bulk of these are completed. Some of them are still ongoing, and some even have an extension because of the Corona crisis. But we also considered a dozen or so forthcoming CSA projects. And this includes, for example, the projects BioSwitch and All Things BioPro that aim to start this year. But there are also a number of other core topics where grants will be awarded shortly or under this year's BBI call. From the 62 projects, there are about 40 that you could consider real CSAs, real coordination and support actions. That means that there are also about 20 CSA-like projects. From these 20, 10 or so concern research projects, the regular research projects that many of you are actually participating in, as we learned at the first Mentimeter question. And there are also about 10 or so Interact projects of different kinds, some bilateral Interact projects, some Europe-wide Interact projects, and some in between covering a certain area within Europe. Okay, so we have 62 projects overall that we covered in a total of 11 fact sheets. What about the fact sheet on uptake of RTD results? Well, here we found that about 10–12% of the projects would fit in this category, which, by the way, was included as a fact sheet at the initiative of the LIFT team. It was not originally mentioned in the call topic. So what are, and first, before I introduce these projects, I should say that, of course, all European research projects are tasked to exploit their results. So all have an element of market uptake in them. What is the common denominator of the CSA in this fact sheet is that they offer support to such research projects. They support collaboration and knowledge sharing with the idea to stimulate development, industrial exploitation, and market uptake of innovative products. And you see them here listed in the order of appearance in the fact sheet. The oldest of them is ComNet, later followed by ComVapNet, but let's call them ComNet. And there were also three similar projects that ran in parallel, which were CombiBiz, ProBio, and BioLinks. They all were finished about 2 years ago. And all of these projects offered various types of business support to the research projects in the field of bioeconomy to help them with the market uptake of the exploitable results of these projects. Hundreds and hundreds of research projects had access to such support if they were willing to make use of it. And indeed, several tens were actually supported by each of these projects. So I assume that if you combine them, there must have been around 100 or so that took advantage of it. BioOpen, also mentioned here, is the only one that was actually funded by the BBI joint undertaking. And this project planned to set up an open innovation platform capable to involve industries, research centers, and universities. You could call it matchmaking database 2.0. And they also included creating at least 10 new co-innovation partnerships, and this is why BioOpen is also covered in our fact sheet on new business models and value chains. The last two projects here were funded from rather different funding sources. Although CatBio is a Horizon 2020 topic, it was funded from the Key Enabling Technologies budget line. And Green Growth is a Interreg Mediterranean project that covered not only bio-based, but a number of green technologies. Next slide, please. So what were the achievements of these CSA projects? Well, they developed training materials to develop business, communication, media, and networking skills of researchers. And this was done, for example, through webinars. They offered collaboration and knowledge sharing between bioeconomy projects and stakeholders. For this, brokerage or matchmaking events were used, or digital platforms like the one Biopen developed. They generated extensive knowledge and good practices on how to bring research to the market. And this, for instance, made available in the form of booklets, guidelines, or other, I would call them legacy documents. And finally, last but not least, literally hundreds of R&I projects that would qualify for assistance and that worked with technologies at different technology readiness levels. Well, several tens, maybe 100 of them engaged in each of the CSA projects covered in today's fact sheet to help their gap to the market shortened. Next slide, please. So what gaps are there still to be bridged? You see quite a long list here. Let me focus on 5 on them. One is that the results of the research projects in the bioeconomy field are not always easily accessible in the form of actionable knowledge to potential beneficiaries. To say it in more simpler terms is the outcomes of projects may be very formal, very complicated, very technical deliverables, whereas for the market uptake, it would be more relevant to have something that is short and sweet and understandable for the CEO of a company that should take up such technology. There's a lack of competences and skills to transfer research outcomes to the market. Well, researchers are researchers, and they're not necessarily good marketeers, or they're good in the promotion of their results to the market. There's often a lack of connections with industries and other potential markets for innovations. There's a need for transversal platforms and projects that facilitate the connection among projects and researchers that have similar interest, with a view to promote knowledge sharing, mutual learning, debate, and collaboration. It's in a different field, but actually this is what the European Bioeconomy Network also aims to do. There they look more at awareness, at stakeholder engagement. Here we plea for a platform or an initiative where the uptake of project results would be stimulated. And the 5th one I'd like to mention is that there is need of a mechanism that ensures that innovation remains state-of-the-art during the project lifetime. This is a really challenging and maybe a provocative statement, but we've seen as LIFT team that in some projects they were working on technologies where we had already seen the technology working in the field. So yeah, they were working on something that wasn't a real innovation after all. Next slide. As for recommendations, I also will focus on just 5 of them. We recommend the development and the provision of toolkits, matchmaking events, hackathons, and tailored coaching and mentoring services to boost the uptake of R&D results. Basically, what we say is we think that the projects covered in this fact sheet did some good work, and you could continue such support. What form or shape that you take can be discussed. Maybe it can be integrated in individual projects. Maybe it can be offered as an overall service. Talking about service, a service in the form of vouchers for small and medium enterprises and startups could be helpful, helping them to reach the market. For example, enabling them to exploit open access pilots and multi-purpose demo infrastructures. A 3rd recommendation is to promote knowledge exchange, mutual learning, and debate, as I was saying under the gaps. Combining entrepreneurship and an academic career. So promoting researcher investment in spin-offs that allow them to pursue their academic career. Making a combination of becoming an entrepreneur and an academic is something that is worth pursuing, and which I think, what I think will be done through the bioeconomy education plans that BIG has shared, that BIG is planning. And last but not least, to increase the impact of project funding and to boost the exploitation of results, big, I guess, as the main partner in this, could establish and maintain a permanent inventory of the results of the project that they funded. And I mean the research projects, not the CSA, so that the results are retrievable through an easy to access and smart interface. That's it on this topic. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, before going to the next one, I noticed that in the chat there is an interesting activity from the CatBio project. So the 28th of April, they are organizing an online marketplace. So if you want to have more info, there is the link here in the chat. Okay, from your side, what are the additional recommendations that you would like to share with us for uptake of RTD results? So again, in menti.com, again, 756105. So we need your feedback, your contribution, because we are preparing the final recommendation. So you have seen what we already found in the project, but what you think maybe you would like to highlight or maybe we miss? Okay, lack of market data. This will be touched also in the next presentation. That is foresight market study and market roadmaps. Of course, this is absolutely important, especially for the business. Any other ideas? Or maybe John was able to cover everything. Okay, so research has to collaborate with industries, of course, and this is why we insist in stakeholder collaboration from the very beginning to ensure the project is addressing the market, living labs for co-creation from the beginning, stakeholder engagement. So this is a focus on agricultural producers. They are important also because they ensure the quality and sustainability of the feedstock. Policy paper based on results. Huge investment are required in a risky environment. Yes, absolutely. Scalability of development is important because, of course, this brings on board all the SMEs and the startups. Excuse me, John, I took your place. Usually it should be you doing this. Go ahead.
Well, I would say you go ahead.
Okay, so forest owner associations, the primary producers again should be on board from the beginning in the research RTD. I've seen the new SIRA where the new SIRA of BIC where they really claim that still the primary producers are still on a side, on a corner, and they really promote and support the fact that in the new consortium they will be part of the game. Engage youth. Yes, this is something that we already touched in the previous webinars. Market is unknown. There is no market fit for product. Okay, take care also you research infrastructures. Do not transform researchers into marketers. This is why you should involve professional communicators in the teams, because everybody should do his own business. But also this side is absolutely important.
In the field of take care of EU research infrastructures, we do have a dedicated fact sheet on this topic, where we looked at projects that stimulated shared research facilities. I don't know if we've covered it already or if it's on next week's webinar.
It will be next one, no? Next webinar on the...
So if this is of interest to you, join us next week.
Okay, so how practically involve academics into projects? I mean, I think you refer to academics that are not part of the EU-funded project. Of course, there are several possibilities. You can also contact your national contact points that can provide you additional information on this, because of course it's always interesting to have someone new in the loop. Special support for TRL 5 to 7 projects for single companies, no need to fulfill. Yes, this is of course about the SME, I mean, instruments. There are several instruments that are dealing with this. Increase risk capital initiatives, ensuring that the innovation are actually retained, monitoring after project finish.
Yeah, I see some really valuable suggestions and arguments of things that we should look into. Not everything concerns directly the topic being covered in this session, but nonetheless, it's very useful, and we will use it for those other topics and fact sheets.
Yes, yes, yes. I think it's not easy to read it and to cover, to touch it during, but we will, of course, as John said, reanalyze to really take something that we would like to inject in our recommendation. Okay, so next one, next block will be foresight, market studies, and market roadmaps. We already touched something during the Mentimeter discussion. This is the link you will find the presentation, so with all the links to the fact sheets, and in the fact sheet you will have much more information than what we can provide you in just 1 hour. So please go ahead, take it and read it and diffuse it. Okay, so next is about the project that we investigated in this domain, that are mainly, we divided in, of course, two main categories that are foresight studies, where we have SAT BBA, BISO, and the Biomonitor. BISO was a project with just one beneficiary, and then this project evolved in the Knowledge Center for the Bioeconomy, that actually is one of the reference point for contents. And this is the link, so you will find the link here, and there is an important database. And it is very relevant because I can say that the majority of data that could be useful in this domain converge in this platform that is supported by the European Commission and is run by the JRC. And then we have the Biomonitor project that is the only one that is still running, and it will run up to 22. I think I've seen someone from Biomonitor in the beginning, if I'm not wrong. Then the market research and modeling, we have the Biotic project, again the BISO, and then the Biopen project that just finished in October 2019, but develop interesting perspective studies that you will find in the Bioeconomy library, so you will be able to assess all the valuable information produced by this project. Okay, so in terms of achievements, mainly those projects produce very interesting foresight studies and anticipating scenarios that, of course, have the main aim of guide the political but also industrial agendas, so to drive the future decision. And then macroeconomic models and methodologies to monitor the development of the bioeconomy. This is, for instance, Biomonitor is focused on these activities, but also other type of analysis like market volumes, data set, and projection for specific products, selected products, and also bio-based value chains, also to understand what is missing in the value chain. We will touch the development of the value chains in the next webinar next week. So if you are interested in this domain, please follow up next Wednesday on the 15th. And then, of course, a number of success stories on bio-based product that can be inspirational for other projects or their ideas, and also to create new value chains, but also cross connection among the different value chains. Okay, we go to the next. So the next is the gaps still to be bridged. Of course, considering that bioeconomy is really a complex, diverse, and wide environment and domain, of course, the data cannot cover everything, and often they are not qualitatively sufficient, so they are maybe unclear, incomplete, unreliable, and sometimes not up to date, because the evolution are so quick that sometimes the studies cannot cover the evolution of this market. And then what also should be refined is are the methodologies and the parameters to really monitor and document the progress. and the development of the bioeconomy. So new methodologies, because even the bioeconomy evolves, and so new methodology should be able to really follow what is going on. And then relevant data on bioeconomy are still missing. This also because traditional statistics and methodologies are not sufficient to monitor bio-based product, especially in sectors where there are, in hybrid sectors, where there are in parallel bio-based and fossil-based materials. So new methodologies, but also ad hoc surveys and also other sources of information should be considered and should be injected as new way to monitor and to measure these domains, and including new ways of doing these activities like crowdsourcing, or maybe I mean something that using also leveraging also the private sector data. That, of course, is kind of protected, and therefore we go to the next one. So there is a lack of willingness or readiness for the stakeholders, and particularly from the industries, but also other actors along the value chain. We have seen, for instance, mentioning the primary producers. They are often out of the loop, but they should be in to provide information that are really that give the entire picture. And why they are reluctant to be involved? Also because, of course, the industries are protecting their data, and so sometimes there is a gap on these activities. And then, of course, the market studies are very expensive, and this is always a big problem for the SMEs or the startups. I forgot to mention before that we investigated, of course, the coordination and support action, but we also investigated some other relevant documents or initiatives like the Biospree, of course, the Knowledge Center for the Bioeconomy, but also other sources of information from the BBIJU and from the big industries consortium, like, for instance, the document, the position paper, the circular economy, the circular biosociety in 2015. All this together with a plethora of documents and studies that are produced by individual companies or even trade associations are available on the market, but they are not the main focus of our small project. Okay, so let's go to the next one, that are the recommendation. So, of course, it is important to identify data indicators and methodology gaps, and provide, of course, methodologies and initiative to fill these gaps. But also all these available data and material should be made more easy, accessible, and searchable for all the stakeholders, because sometimes they are designed or cut to reach the policymakers, but the other stakeholders have some difficulties in exploiting or actioning these materials. And of course, it is needed to continuous monitoring the market, the trends, the evolution, but also the projection for the bio-based sectors and also the value chains. And then, again, we cannot stop saying that the stakeholder engagement, knowledge sharing, debate, mutual learning is really fundamental to design a bottom-up solution, a bottom-up bioeconomy. Bioeconomy cannot be top-down, should be really bottom-up and inclusive. And also the foresight scenarios should include this perspective, including the primary sector. And then, of course, for SMEs and startup, all these data are often too expensive, too far, not easily accessible. So something to really enable those actors to assess these data that are fundamental for their activity should be foreseen. And then a provocative point, we are all in the situation, I mean, lockdown for the corona crisis. So if we managed to set up a system, a multi-stakeholder think tank or platform or whatever, to really be able to green a white page. This is our opportunity to really design a better future that is more, I mean, sustainable for everybody. I'm done. Okay. So from your side, what are your additional recommendations in this domain? So foresight, market studies, and market roadmaps. Again, in menti.com 756105. This is a little bit tricky because you have to write in your cell phones and it's not always immediate, and then you arrive with a lot of answers all together. Okay. So apparently maybe there is a delay because sometimes we are experiencing a delay. And by the way, we selected, we did some attempt of different platforms to support our webinars, and now we end up with the Zoom that sometimes has been criticized. But
Susanna, I'm seeing some of the feedback coming in. And
yes,
the first one is bio-based public procurement measures. I could go on this topic for at least an hour, which we don't have. But the InProBio project did exactly this. We worked together with experts on public procurement. We worked together with the Dutch Public Procurement Support Agency. We worked together with bioeconomy experts, and we explored the possibility of using public procurement to support bio-based products and services. I can tell you it is a very challenging thing to do. And for example, green public procurement, which is often mentioned as a vehicle that bio-based public procurement could take use of, is not even established widely across Europe. So going for an even further and a more advanced public procurement topic like bio-based is not something easily done, let's put it like that. But go to www.inprobio.eu and you'll find more information, or you can contact me, voss@btgworld.com.
There is also another project that is Pronto that is touching similar things and is just started. But let's go to the other points. Okay, again, stakeholder engagement, but should be done at through national, but also regional. I can add action plans. High importance of the rural areas of the bioeconomy and the involvement of the regions in this is also relevant. The recommendation on product pricing, of course, this is in the center. I mean, also involving I mean, there are a lot of activities in this involving the citizens in these activities. So regional studies, consider regional studies to have a local view. This is something that we touched in the previous webinar. Because of course, bioeconomy cannot, I mean, it's not, sometimes we speak about bioeconomies that are deployed locally and regionally depending on the regional resources. Continuous updating.
Yeah, what I can add to this, Susanna, is at the very first question of the Mentimeter, we saw that there are a lot of representatives of Power for Bio in our audience. And this is indeed one of the projects that looks at developing regional plans for the uptake of the bioeconomy. There is a sister project, Be Rural, which has a similar focus, and both projects are also related to the development of the CAP, the Common Agricultural Policy, and there are several others indeed already covered in last week's
also
webinar.
the new Sherpa project that will also try to shorten the gaps between the policy and the regional.
Okay, I see here the harmonized system code adequation of bioproducts is poor for the moment. Indeed, it is a problem we run into as a company. We also do some research directly for the Joint Research Center in Italy/Spain. And this is really something that needs working on. I think the Biomonitor project is having an activity to look into this. So if you're interested, contact the Biomonitor project.
Okay, so the other things are the creation of the platforms to share anonymized industrial market information. The BioOpen is partially doing this activity. Information in a language tailored to individual stakeholders. Yes, of course, this is one of the points that we stress very often, the fact that all the information should be actionable and tailored for the beneficiary, for the stakeholders to be, to be ready to be put in practice. Okay, so let's go to the next one, to the last one. It will be John again.
Yeah, thank you, Susanna. And you like talking a lot, so you didn't allow me too many minutes for this. But that's not a problem, because in this fact sheet there is just 2 projects being covered. Next, please. And that is Biotic and the Road to Bio. And I think this illustrates that just looking at CSAs, you miss a large part of the full picture. If you stay just with the CSAs, you're like in a tunnel, whereas the landscape is a lot more than what you see. In the last 5 years, many other roadmaps were developed, just funded in different ways. For example, the European Commission last year funded an initiative to come to a roadmap on the blue bioeconomy. What you also see is that trade associations develop roadmaps. For example, the European Paper Industries CP had the Forest Fiber Industry 2050 roadmap. And CEVIC, which is the European Chemical Industry Council, initiated a journey into the future of Europe with the European chemical industry. And there are many more examples of this, and some of them are explicitly mentioned in the draft 2030 CIRA from the BBI, from BIC, that is open for public consultation this month. Also not mentioned by us, but an interesting project was Star Colibri. I understand that Star Colibri was like the starting point for the whole BIC. It was also a CSA project, but it was rather old. I think it published its results about 10 years ago, and therefore proper analysis by the LIFT team was not possible. If you compare the 2 projects, one major difference between the 2 is that Biotic was coordinated by the European Trade Association that works in the field of biotechnology, which is Europa Bio. And Road to Bio missed such participation. I just mentioned CEVIC, the Chemical Industry Council. They did not wish to be part of Road to Bio, not directly at least. And yeah, that has some impact, as you will see later on. So what were the project achievements? Yeah, just a single bullet here. That doesn't mean that the outcomes were really limited of these projects. I think they generated a lot of materials. In the case of Biotic, beyond the main roadmap, they had separate market roadmap, R&D roadmap, and a non-technological roadmap. And besides that, they came up with pragmatic recommendations for action, called it an action plan, and also a summary of hurdles and solutions in industrial biotechnology. This last one was covered in last week's webinar when we looked into hurdles, among others. The Road to Bio project produced the roadmap itself, an action plan, an engagement in 3 parts, which amongst others included the communication guide and also key messages, and other deliverables that it yielded were deliverable on regulatory barriers and deliverable on public perception of bio-based products, which was a meta study and looked into 17 earlier studies into public awareness, public perception. Interesting reading. Next slide. The gaps to be bridged. I have 4 listed here. Bioeconomy roadmaps are complex due to the wide variety of potential products, technological evolutions, and continuously emerging opportunities and even hurdles. A poor engagement of stakeholders in roadmap design leading to low acceptance and deployment. As I mentioned, CEVIC didn't want to be part of the Road to Bio consortium, and therefore it's always a bit more complicated to engage stakeholders. It would have been nicer if they had wanted to be part of it. But yeah, sometimes things go like that. Difficulties in setting up a joint industrial roadmap due to the lack of interest of industrial actors that do not want to share data and information, for example, because they state there are intellectual property issues, and poor collaboration between academia and industry, leading to a mismatch with industrial interests and needs, and poor roadmap expectation. Our recommendations, again, a relatively short list. Next slide, please. Yeah, to maximize the opportunities emerging from the bio-based sector, the development of industrial roadmaps that are able to address properly the complexity and the wide variety of challenges, like related to feedstock technologies, value chains, etc., should be encouraged. We suggest that to formulate per stakeholder group concrete and targeted actions and associated timeframes, and to develop indicators for the assessment of the implementation and the impact of the industrial roadmap. Those that develop roadmaps should start with stakeholder engagement on day 1, if not day 0, even before the project is formulated, to ensure the early and continuous engagement of all stakeholders in roadmap development and refinement, and such as to ensure ownership, acceptance, and commitment in the deployment. A provocative one is maybe that you should also monitor technology development, identify sectors for which it is more urgent to develop roadmaps, and ensure supportive measures for the design of these roadmaps. And last but not least, design industrial roadmaps that valorize local resources, feedstock, infrastructure, skills, industrial fabric, strategies, funding, to maximize opportunities at the regional level. And I think this connects nicely with some of the feedback we just got before in the Mentimeter. That's it, folks. Thank you.
Okay, let's go to the to the last Mentimeter session. Meanwhile, we are reading some comments that we received from Barna Kovacs from BioEast. Not only CSA, of course, the full picture is not represented only by CSA, but also other actions. But of course, LIFT was a small project focused on CSA, but we welcome your suggestion, your idea, your recommendation to really make similar activities to really investigate what has been done, not only by CSA. And someone, I don't see, I see that someone, it is absolutely relevant. Okay, thanks. So other questions that are, of course, again, touching the SMEs. So how to, I mean, the data are expensive, not accessible for everybody, how to bring SMEs in the loop, including industrial stakeholder into decision-making processes. Yes, this is one of our, I mean, recommendation to have everybody on board. Consider always informal gray market, not always visible for the moment. Yes, of I mean, the foresight should also understand, should be able to really understand what are the potential market that maybe today are not giving a lot of return, but maybe in the future they can. Consider the importance of and research and development. Share plans.
Ready to use templates is also an interesting suggestion. The way I read this, maybe it's not understood that way, is that it's good to have a template how to develop a roadmap, because that is also something where you do not wish to reinvent the wheel every time you start with a new roadmap.
Okay, including business models. Business models will be touched in the next webinar on the 15th. And consider a flexible model for technology transfer and handling of. There are several projects that are kind of dealing with this. Involve other stakeholders different than industrial partners, such as community members, so their consideration are included in the roadmaps, for example, desired product. This is something that the Sherpa project and also the All Things BioPro will touch. Those two projects are just new or up to start.
Yeah, All Things BioPro has decided it wishes to start September this year. So please be a bit patient, but if you already have specific information for it, I can help you with that.
Holistic approach, it's not only about money, but also for environment and society, I guess, writing on the cell phone some titles. Okay, I think we can go to the end of to the next. We just want to have some feedback from your side. We still have 170 participants, so really thanks for being patient. We are already out of our time, so please tell us what do you think. So the first one is very enthusiastic, the second a little bit less. Okay, thanks. Okay, so found the content interesting, that's good. We participate to the next webinar, the majority of you will. Thanks. Consider that the last one will be on the 15th at 11, but please, if you have time, go back and see the other two that are already on our website, so you will maybe find something interesting for your work. Okay, you're still helping us in evaluating, so really thanks to all of you for your participation. All the other partners want to say something?
Yeah, well, this slide will be open. I think it's time to close. We are 5 minutes after the hour. Is not a big problem. So from our side, thank you very much for the participation. We had a top participation of around 220 attendees, so it's good. And we collected some more inputs for our study, so it was a good webinar, in my opinion.
Yeah, I concur with that, Alex.
Okay, so I think we can close this session here. You can keep on voting on the Mentimeter, and thanks again for your participation. And next appointment is on the 15th at 11.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Stay safe.
Bye-bye.